What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of our Gags Goals Updates. If you don't know me, if it's just the first time watching, that's totally cool. I'm Coach Gaglione. I've been involved in powerlifting for over 13 years, both competitively and coaching as a strength coach. And this is chronicling, it's early, my weight loss journey and my kind of goals to be strong and lean and also set the example for our team. So I'm 2 days out for my next competition, Powerpalooza. I did the same meet last year at 242. I totaled 1,900 at 242. This is actually my third best total, and it was my highest Wilks score ever. After that, I competed at Slingshot Record Breakers. I did add some pounds to my squat, had a decent performance in the deadlift. Narrowly missed my third attempts in both the squat and the deadlift. They were very close. But I did botch the bench. I did hurt my shoulder, and I have been experiencing some shoulder problems, but knock on wood, things feel good. So I'm hoping to kind of salvage that kind of loss, if you will, at this particular meet. The original plan was to compete at 198, and for various reasons it did not happen. 233 today. So I still, even to make the 220 class, it's going to take some work. I did do a little bit of a water loading protocol, and essentially what that is that you're going to really increase the amount of water intake, some carbohydrates, your glycogen stores are full, and really bump up the sodium intake. And this is going to be, again, all these kind of maneuvers can be risky, so do them at your own risk. And if it is your first meet, I don't recommend cutting weight unless you have really some specific goal. Like I said, for me, this will give me a chance actually to qualify for the Arnold if I elect to do so. It would be cool to hit the numbers for that, whether I end up competing or not at it, because again, my first priority is coaching. That would be cool. So for this particular meet, I just want to do a little bit better than last time. I want to hit a total at 220 because I do not have an equipped total at 220 so far. And the goal is to just, I'd love some secondary goals. I would like to total over 1,900. If I could knock a loose band off the board, always get a couple of squares up on the record board. That's always something that's a good goal. Whatever your gym is, to get on the record board for your gym. I think that's a cool goal. But I just want to have a really good performance. I want to have a good meet. So I'm going to play, especially the bench, conservative. But I'm going to open up, again, because I don't want to take huge jumps. Open up at 745 in the squat, 415 in the bench, 480 in the deadlift. That's what we're projected to so far. We'll see how the weight cut goes. We'll see how the recomp goes. It's about a 4-hour drive for me to get to York, Pennsylvania. I'll be starting that shortly, and I'll kind of chronicle my weight as I kind of make it. I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do to reconstitute and recomposition my weight. One thing I'm going to do a little bit differently this time around is I'm going to make sure that I do some sort of upper body kind of light work with some bands or just some maybe body weight exercises to get some of the glycogen actually to shuttle to my upper body, because last time I felt like my bench shirt did not really fit well the next day. Even though my weight was good, I felt like it was more pooled in my stomach and my leg. Quick little update, made it into York, PA in one piece. Cut off my food, cut off my water, had some coffee this morning. One of the ideas is that kind of caffeine can act as a little bit of a diuretic. So that was kind of like the only liquid I consumed today, day before weigh-ins. So I had 2 cups of coffee. Depending on how much weight you have to lose, you can kind of play with some dandelion root and some diuretics and stuff. But again, you want to err on the side of caution with those things. Wore some sweats just kind of on the way here, just to sweat a little bit, kind of put the heat on the car on the way here. Another kind of gross but good trick. It's just kind of, you have a bottle to kind of spit in. I will use some sour gum. You'll kind of probably see that later, right before the weigh-in, but I don't really like to use the sour gum. But just to kind of stimulate your saliva a little bit, and I can kind of get, if you're like a half a pound or a quarter pound over, that can kind of help you lose that last bit if you're kind of not sweating anymore. Once I check into the hotel, I'm definitely going to check my weight. You can see me dripping a little bit. Check my weight and see, hoping to be under 230 currently, we'll see. And then I'll probably do a couple hot baths and stuff. If I can kind of get close to weight, before bed, because sometimes if you kind of do the hot baths and stuff too late at night, I noticed that can definitely kind of affect your sleep. Like I said, the car thing is one thing. I know people have different opinions on the sauna, heat in the car and things like that. For most of the kind of research, if you can have some sort of hot tub or a hot bath, from our experience, that seems to be kind of the best method. But obviously, if a sauna works for you, like I said, it's kind of a warm day out, so kind of just putting some sweats on and putting the heat on in the car can, again, always have a buddy and be supervised. But to get those last couple of pounds out, it could definitely be helpful. So another update, just took a couple hot baths. Weight's coming off a little bit slower than I'd like. One thing I think it's important to note if you guys are doing hot baths, every tub is going to be a little different. So one thing that I've been kind of playing with is actually starting with the water on very cold to start, and then putting the hot water on, because sometimes it can be tough. Like if you just keep the hot water on the whole time, it's going to be scalding, and I kind of burned my skin a little bit on the first couple of runs. So trying to find that temperature that's just right where you're going to sweat, but obviously not get yourself burned, so it's tolerable. So just enough heat to get you sweating is going to be important. I'm pretty sure George Lockhart actually takes a thermometer with him to kind of measure the temperatures. That's something I probably need to start doing and start implementing with some of our guys. And I know some people kind of just prefer doing the sauna for that reason, but usually a hot tub is almost always available if you're staying at a hotel. I should say a bathtub is almost always available at any hotel, so it's pretty convenient. You don't always have to kind of go scrambling for a sauna. And some people kind of say that there's more benefit to using the hot tub and the hot bath as far as from a minimal loss in performance versus the sauna. I've used both. My best total was from, my biggest cut ever was 23 pounds. I went from 296 to 273, and I used sauna for that. And I even made some mistakes with the recomp, but as far as the type of foods, I was able to get my weight back up, but ate a little bit too late, and I ate a lot of junk, a big Italian meal. But yeah, so I did a 1950 total at 275, and Mark Greenstein actually hit at the time was 5th all time at 198, 1825, 198, which was really impressive. This is many years ago. And we both did sauna for that, and then we recomped with a nice big Italian meal late at night. So, and part of that was just going through that was just making sure that I ensure that I know what my guys and my girls are going through if they're going for a big record. Like I said, Mark was going for, at the time, he was trying to be number 1 in the world. He ended up being number 5 in the world. Was also a Raw Unity champion. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm still cutting weight. I don't really advise people to cut weight for their first couple of meets, and if they're just kind of a more recreational lifter, I don't think it's kind of worth the risk. But as a coach, as someone that does work with some higher level athletes, I think it's important to practice what I preach. As of right now, I'm 222 and a half, 0.4. So the cutoff is 220.46. So I got 2 pounds to go. I'm going to try and float a little bit. If I have to take another bath in the morning, I will. The weight class cutoff is 100 kilos, so it's 220.46. Usually our scale is pretty much on point with the meat scale. We have a health-o-meter. Get these from Amazon. These are pretty accurate. It's about $250 scale, and it's pretty small and portable, so you can kind of see what it looks like here. This is what we kind of used for wrestling a lot back in the day. So kind of the plan now is to, like I said, get a combination of kind of caffeine, sucrose, dextrose, sucrose, glucose, and fructose. So I'm going to have some rice, some Noon tabs. I have this new electrolyte powder I've been kind of test driving. It's got a little bit more potassium and magnesium in it than Noon. It's LMT. I learned this from Chris Bell. So I'm testing these out as well. I'm going to probably sprinkle a little bit of sugar on my rice just to kind of get some sucrose in. I'm probably going to go to get a Pedialyte from CVS as well. It's something I typically do. I got a lot of water, rice, and meat, so I'm kind of doing that kind of whole vertical thing. And I'm going to be using some sour gum just to be sure and spit a little bit before the weigh-in. Got some time. So on weight, good news, and I'm excited to kind of start the refeed process very soon. I'm going to try to eat slowly throughout the day. I'm going to try to drink more fluids first. I definitely tend to eat a little bit too fast in general when I'm refeeding, so I'm going to try and do it a little slower, a little bit more methodical, and try to get my weight back up to 235, even 240 if I can. Really going to bump up the sodium and carbs today, but keep the fat low so I keep the absorption high. So good news, I made weight. Official weigh-in is 219.4. So about a pound under the limit, but I just wanted to make sure my scale it was pretty accurate. I think my scale was a little bit heavier than the meat scale, but things have been good. My weight is back up to about 227 and change. So I was able to kind of at least start or at least get most of my weight back on pretty quickly. Had a good amount of carbs already and salt, about 3 liters of water with some electrolyte solution. I kind of talked about some of the stuff that I've been taking already. Again, I probably ate a little bit too fast. I got to continue to remind myself and kind of pace myself a little bit better. Still have a lot more food and liquid to take in. I'd like to get my weight up another 10 pounds or so. And then we'll kind of see how it goes. So I'll shoot another video later as I kind of get through the day. But it's still early. It's only like 10 o'clock, only an hour after weigh-ins. And within that hour, I already kind of put back on about almost 10 pounds. So that's a good sign. But the key is keeping the weight on. So going to keep the sodium high, going to keep the fat low, using that combination of a little caffeine, glucose, sucrose, and fructose. Apparently, again, from learning from guys like Stan Efferding and George Lockhart, it's supposed to absorb a little bit faster into your body. And obviously, having the sodium is going to help you kind of retain the water and get that kind of bloat feeling that a lot of the powerlifters kind of look for on game day. So I'm excited, starting to get a little fired up. So I'm definitely going to put rest as a premium tonight, and I'll probably shoot one more update as far as what my final weigh-in will be before tomorrow, and then it'll be game day. So my weight is about 232 right now, which is about like where I started the cut. And most of my training sessions in the peaking phase were like 235 and under, so it's not terrible. I still need to get some more food in me. I definitely think I ate a little bit too much too fast. So one of the things I'm definitely going to be playing around with the future is maybe having a little bit of like a timeline for like kind of food and water and things like that versus just kind of going by feel. Because it's definitely hard to get kind of your stomach acclimated after fasting for 24 hours, after kind of being dehydrated for, anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, depending on like when you cut off water from a cut. So it's really important to be smart. It's really important but the good news is I am over 230 again. So all the gear and stuff should be fitting. One thing I'm going to play with is, besides doing some walking, just doing some like kind of band pull aparts and things like that, just to get some of the glycogen and kind of the back in my upper body. I think one of the issues, besides just, something going wrong, my last competition at Slingshot Record Breakers was I didn't feel like the bench shirt was fitting properly. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like full in my upper body. So even though my weight was good, I felt like it was kind of pulled in my stomach. And not so much, didn't really kind of go to where I wanted it to go. So going to do some like light upper body work. I know kind of Brian Carroll talks about this. He has a great weight cutting ebook as well if you want some more information on that. Definitely check out Brian Carroll, and I think it's his website is like Power Rack Media or something like that. And if you look up 1020 Life, some great resources. And for those that don't know Brian is, I believe he's a world class powerlifter, but I believe he has like the record for most 1,000-pound squats in competition as well. One of the greats, somebody I look up to and still look up to and try and learn from. So that's kind of our recap. So made 220 class. Now I actually have to hit a total this time. My kind of game plan I'm going to let you know what my game plan is, and you'll see how if I execute it well. I'm going to try to let some of my teammates handle me and kind of pick my numbers, but it's kind of hard because, like I said, not all of them train with me all the time. So I have a set kind of guideline that we're going to follow. I have all my warm-ups. And stuff written down and projected attempts, so it's not going to be much thinking involved. It's really hard to call your own numbers, but for me personally, kind of did the math. An 1850 or more will give me an all-time Wilks PR. So that's only if I go 6 for 9, I will be over that. So that's really cool. 1900 is the qualifying total for the XPC final, so that's definitely in the back of my head. If I can go 8 or 9 for 9, I could also take loose band off the board. In total, something over 1930. So those are some things that I have in mind. 830 squat would also knock Lewis band off the board. So it's always kind of like fighting for those squares. A couple other things I mentioned before. I'd like to, if I can get the total 1900 at 220. That's what I totaled last year at 242. So that's kind of probably the most important overarching goal of the day. But most important, I just want to have fun. I know it sounds cliche. But you really need to enjoy the process. For those, again, that don't know, I'm 13 years into powerlifting, actually competing in powerlifting as well as coaching. So if you're doing something for over a decade, it's got to be fun. It's got to be something you really love. And I do, and I want to be doing this for a long time. And one of the reasons I'm putting myself through this weight cut and going through these challenges and then goals for myself, because I think it's really important that you walk the walk and you practice what you preach. So gonna get some more. I'm gonna probably get like 1 to 2 more meals in. I'm gonna try and get a little bit more fluid in me. Just as of right now, just to give you guys an idea. I haven't counted specifically, but I've had a good amount of rice, some potatoes, 2 bags of like really low fat potato chips. And the reason with the potatoes and the potato chips, those are also very high in potassium as well as sodium. So sodium and potassium we're trying to load up today. This is going to be really important for muscle contraction and just electrolyte balance in general. I've used like Noon Tabs. The Noon Tabs is definitely something. The Noon Tab specifically that I use today have some caffeine from green tea extract. I did do some orange juice, so I wanted to get some fructose, sucrose, and glucose. If you look up some of Stan Efferding stuff and also specifically George Lockhart, there's the combination of those carbohydrates plus the electrolytes and the caffeine. They allow you to shuttle and absorb those the nutrients a little bit quicker. That's something I need to admittedly do a little bit better job of researching and learning from, which actually, anyway, it just kind of reminded me of something else. So if you're doing a meet, have a plan, have all your warm-ups written out, have some projected attempts. I literally write out for my team like what to put on the bar, so it's very simple. I'm going to bring my own collars. So similar results to last year. Squats are done. Warm-ups went really well. I am dealing with some issues with my left shoulder still. So it was causing some unracks to be funny, but 695 last warm-up went really smooth. 745 was moved like out of a cannon. Ended up the rack height was kind of incorrect, which was kind of a rookie move on my mistake. So I ended up going a little bit too high on my second as far as my rack height. So when I unracked 800 pounds, I kind of fell backwards. So I elected to retake it because I really my sub goals was to squat 800 at this meet. Was able to do that successfully. It was one of my fastest 800-pound squats ever, regardless of the body weight. So I did 800 at 220, which is a PR. It's 30 pounds more than I did last year at 242, and 23 pounds more than I did at Slingshot Record Breakers. So I'm very happy about that, and I missed 804 at Record Breakers in November. So kind of avenged the loss, got it back on my third attempt. Ate some Lenny's and Larry's cookies to refuel, hydrated again. So this is going to be crunch time because bench is going to be a little bit of a roll of the dice. Opening at 415. Going to play it conservative, but I should be able to hit some of the goals that I set out for myself still. Always good to come back and hit a third attempt. It's a little bittersweet because I knew I had a lot more in the tank. It looked like I was closer to like 840, 850 on this particular day, but I missed. I got the squat command. I fell backwards. It was the right call from the judges, and you got to roll with the punches sometimes. So kind of recapping the bench press attempts. I did get my third attempt, so that was good. So I'm in the meet. So technically, it's a PR at this body weight. I missed all my bench attempts at Slingshot Record Breakers. Going into the meet, I did bench 485 to a half board prior to my injury. I benched 405 to the chest in training. Ended up with 415 today, so better than I did in training, so I'm happy about that. I missed it on the first 2 tries. I ended up bringing my grip in a little bit after I couldn't really quite lock out my left arm twice. I was able to hold it enough to get with some white lights. I was able to show enough control. But yeah, my left arm was not really cooperating. Everything was flying off my chest. The strength was definitely there on my right side, but the coordination and stability in my left shoulder was not really having it today. So I'm in the meet. Moving forward, I'm going to hit a total. My opener will give me an 1,800-pound total on the deadlift, and then I'm just going to kind of swing for the fences and see if I can muster up an all-time best Wilks and potentially if I can match that 1,900 total I did last year at 242. That'd be icing on the cake. So definitely left some tape. I think the 415 was really all I had today so I'm happy about that. Definitely left some pounds on the platform for the squat, so going to kind of swing for the fences going into the deadlift. It's a quick recap on the meet itself in the day. So as I kind of mentioned before, benches were not so great, but in the grand scheme of things, like I said, I only did, last workout was 405 and was kind of shoddy. So I got 415 on the bench. So I elected to go a little bit more aggressive on the deadlift, open up with 585 to secure an 1,800-pound total, which is my first equipped total at 220. So technically that is a PR total. Jumped up to 630 because that would give me an all-time PR Wilks, and I also wanted to put myself in position to potentially qualify for the Arnold, hit the Arnold qualifying number, which happens to be 1,900, and also happens to be what I totaled at 242 this last year. So my goal going into the meet was to total 1,900 to match what I did at 242 last year in a lighter weight class at 220. And had I got another squat attempt, if I didn't miss my second squat attempt and had my shoulder been healthy, a lot of as-ifs, but my grip was slipping a little bit on 630, and my shoulder was affecting my lat engagement quite a bit, so my sit-up was not as good as normal. But you neither here nor there. I didn't really get my grip set up, and the head judge definitely saw that, so I kind of lost grip and tore a little bit of a callus on my second attempt. Did come back and get on my third for 630 deadlift, which gave me an 1845 total, which is a new PR total for me in the 220 class, and gave me an all-time PR Wilks. So even with a bum shoulder, even with not the best meet, I did hit all my third attempts, which is always a good thing. Not my best performance, but with a rocky training cycle, I'm very happy. So I'm going to give a little bit more of a full recap later, but I really appreciate you guys' support, and now the road to 198 will officially be beginning very soon. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned.